ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
It is Wednesday, September 2nd. The Drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can join this program by calling the Miller Lite phone lines at 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. Miller Lite, hold true, great taste. It's only 96 calories, is the original light beer. Coming up today on the program, we're going to hear from the voice of EKU, Greg Stotelmyer. He'll join us here shortly, so we'll talk about Marshall and EKU. As I mentioned, your phone calls. We'll also get your tweets in at Paul Swann on Twitter is the way to find me. Looking forward to seeing what you guys are thinking today. I know the one thing that really went crazy on social media yesterday, well, there might be another Pennington at quarterback here in the near future at Marshall University. I know we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. It's a little early in the process, but if one of the all-time greats has a son who happens to be a quarterback, well, what else is Marshall going to do? Make that offer. Make that offer and say, hey, would you like to be quarterback here at Marshall University? So that's what really took social media yesterday a little bit. A lot of people getting excited just because of the fact that Marshall remembering all the success under Chad Pennington. And I thought it was pretty cool. Actually, I would love to see another Pennington. I am officially old, and you are too. Some of you just have heard about Chad Pennington. For those of us that were there, we're old. We just all officially got old with that offer. So good job, Marshall, making me feel really old right now, because I was at Marshall when Chad was at Marshall. I was there. He was there. You probably, a lot of you were fans in the stands at that time. So how much older do you feel? Chad's got a kid. He could be playing college ball here real soon, and it could be at Marshall. So after I get over that, just the feeling of where did the time go and how much time do I have left? You know, we look forward here to Marshall taking on EKU, and that's coming up on Saturday. And again, if you're not sure of what you need to know, Marshall's putting out a lot of information on their website, herdzone.com, and I'm encouraging everyone to go and really read what they're asking you to do, how they're going about taking care of you, what they're asking out of you in return, what the policies are going to be. Read up on all of that. If you're going to be in the stadium watching the game, do everything that they ask of you. Hear the policies. Do it. And you don't have to worry about maybe the next game, no fans, because there are still schools, and there's so many, we can't just go over them all. It would just be one long laundry list. But there are a lot of schools that are still coming out with, no, we're not going to have fans at our game, depending on the region and the situation, but Marshall's going to have fans. Next week, EKU will be in Morgantown. There won't be fans in the stands there. There might not be high school sports in the Morgantown area next week in Mon County because the color-coded map is leaning towards the orange. And if it's orange on Saturday, they're going to cease activities as far as actual play. You can still practice if you're in the orange. But getting to the point now where in Morgantown, and the area, the bars got closed 4 o'clock hour this afternoon because there were photos that were showing students, I presume students, and lots of students, just not social distancing, not wearing masks. They were going out the bars, and it's not the fact they were going to bars, it's the fact that they were going to bars in such huge numbers and not wearing the mask and all of that. So, WVU's starting to have a problem with that, and I hope that that's not going to be a problem we start seeing here with Marshall anytime soon. Keep the numbers down, because keep it in mind that if Cabell County goes into the orange, then Huntington High and Cabell Midland can't play. Cabell Midland already got hosed in a way because Cabell County's good, but yet Cabell Midland's opponent can't play. You're in the wrong color code, and there wasn't a really an ability to get another game. So in that sense, Cabell Midland got really hosed because they're ready to go, and all of a sudden they don't have a game and they can't get a makeup game, and so they got to wait. And if Cabell County, I don't think Cabell's leaning towards the orange, but if Cabell County would go into orange, then you'd have Huntington High and Cabell Midland not having a game next week. And guess what? It's against each other. So that's a pretty big game. So read everything that they put out. Do what you need to do. If you have questions, I'm sure the ticket office will help you, and there'll be people that will help you. But it just comes down to this: when you go to the game on Saturday, be smart. And another thing, this is me telling you, because you have a rare opportunity here, and I'd hate to see all of this work, and then you have an outbreak and something happen, and then next thing you know, next game, well, you know what? We tried it, couldn't get it to work, so no fans for the game in a couple of weeks. You don't want to hear that. Marshall wants to play all 6 games at home. Marshall can't control the road. That's the one thing. Marshall can't control what happens on the road as far as is this game going to be played or not. But you can control your portion of it here at home. So I'm just going to say that, throw that out there, and everybody hopefully will understand what is going on here. And another thing, you don't want to put the area in a different color code here. We're living by the color code now. Are we orange this week? Are we red? Are we yellow? Are we green? We're in yellow. Don't want to go to orange. Okay, we're in orange. No, that's not good. You definitely don't want to be in red, but you got to get out of the orange. We're living by color codes now. Again, hate the word new normal. So, hey, this is our reality now. We're living by color codes. And I saw some of the sentiment that kids in Mon County, kids in the area are going to be penalized because the numbers are going up because of what's happening with West Virginia, students coming back, their behavior, the cases that are associated with the students coming back, and a lot of the sentiment I'm reading, again, all this is anecdotal, but hey, these kids, these high school kids are getting punished. They're getting really, I guess, it's getting taken out on them because the county can't keep it in green or yellow, and a lot of it's because of WVU. WVU gets to play in a week, but if the color code hits a certain range and stays that way, the high schools are going to be impacted by this. And really it's WVU students' fault, or, with the increased activity and the increased population coming back in, a lot of them out of state, a lot of kids coming from different areas bringing, COVID with them, contracting it and spreading it, and the behavior there. I hope that doesn't happen elsewhere. I don't hope that really doesn't happen here with Marshall. I don't think it's going to, but let's be honest, it can happen anywhere. So that's where we're at as far as just kind of assessing the day here. I've been looking at a little bit of that on social media, keeping an eye on what's going on with the color code, the whole can you play, can you not play. I'll say this. We're good right now in Cabell County, so that means we've got Huntington High football coming up this Friday night right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So we'll turn our attention to Marshall and EKU. When we come back from break, we're going to talk to the voice of EKU, Greg Stotelmyer. He'll join us on the other side of the break here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We are presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Welcome back to the Wednesday, September 2nd edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. So we're closer to game day. It's Wednesday. We have got a game on Saturday. I didn't think we'd get to this point. We're halfway there. Knock on wood, it's going to happen on Saturday. And joining us now on the program, he's going to have the EKU side of things, Greg Stotelmyer. Greg, thanks for joining me. It's been really exciting these last few weeks to actually finally be able to talk about a game instead of are we going to play a game?
Yeah, I heard just the last part of it. Yeah, everybody's excited to finally play football, and you keep your fingers crossed every week, but I think it was the right move by schools to give it a try as long as they follow safety procedures. And it's working out for Eastern Kentucky definitely to play 2 back-to-back games on national platforms and do something that the other OVC schools are not doing.
If you would talk about that, EKU sort of gone out on its own, maybe a little roguish, maybe not, or just taking the sure thing, knowing that there's no guarantee that football would happen in the spring.
The athletics director has said there were 3 reasons why: player safety, in the sense that you're not trying to compress 2 seasons into a small amount of time, spring and fall. Also, just the fact that they want to play and they think they can. And I think it's proven. I didn't know at first, but I think it's proven to be the right decision so far. And time will tell. But when you are at the mid-major level and in the FCS level, your staff is not as large. So imagine compressing football into a season that would also include basketball season and the spring sports as well eventually. And you do not have at schools like EKU, most schools don't have good indoor facilities. So practice would start sometime in January, and I just think that puts the situation into kind of a desperate mode for FCS schools.
On the flip side, you have a pretty attractive schedule. EKU might come out on the good end of this. Probably one of the best schedules you've seen in a while.
Yeah, it is a really good schedule because you got a mixture of FCS teams and FBS teams. Of the 8 games, 5 are on the road. 3 are FBS games, as you know, Marshall, West Virginia, and Troy. So you've got a good mixture there. You've got about $1 million in money that will be generated if you play all 3 of those games. And then the other games are really good FCS teams. Central Arkansas, 11th preseason, went deep in the playoffs last year. They play a home and away. Stephen F. Austin has been perennially good out of the Southland Conference. And then Western Carolina, who was already on the schedule, will come to Richmond late in the year. And they are still looking potentially for a 9th game as well.
Looking at everything that has happened, what makes EKU confident as an institution that it can pull off football? Not looking at what would happen in the spring or those issues there, but what makes EKU feel confident where other schools and other conferences, including the OVC, just don't feel comfortable in pursuing football?
I hate to speak for the university because I really haven't had a chance to sit down and talk with the athletics director, Matt Rohn, in detail. Here's my sense. The OVC said you can play up to 4 non-conference games. So if you say it's okay to play 4 football games, why would you not play more? And so I think that is, as long as you follow all the protocols. And so the head coach, the new head coach, and the athletics director and the administration all felt that they didn't want to play 4, stop, and then try to play a conference schedule. If we're going to play, let's play. And so that's when they went out and tried to put together a schedule, which they've been successful with, to play 8 games. And there's 15 schools of the 126 in FCS that are going to play in the fall. 2 other OVC teams are going to play schedules that are at just 3 games. And then, but you look at the FBS, and my latest total was 76 of the 130 or so FBS schools are playing. So to me, it just makes more sense, and they felt confident that it wasn't fair to the athletes to play 4 games, stop, and then come back and start practicing in January for a spring schedule.
If you would, you mentioned you had a new head coach, Walt Wells. This is definitely a trial by fire in any definition of first year being the head coach of a college football team.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you take Doc Holliday. He's been there 11 years. He talks to his athletes. He knows them all, and that line of communications and trust is there. For Walt and his staff, they come in, they start spring practice right before spring break. They have a spring break. They come back, and everything's shut down. And then you come back and you start early because, like Marshall, there was a time where EKU thought that the West Virginia game would be in week 0. So they started practice pretty early. But as things started to fall apart a little bit, there was a lot of doubt, Walt told me, among the players about why are we out here practicing in the heat of the summer? It looks like this isn't going to happen. Once they announced the 8-game schedule, he saw a real buy-in from his players that, okay, we can trust this staff, because Walt kept saying to his players, we are going to do everything we can to try to play football. And so that's when he saw kind of the light come on and a connection between the staff and the players. He said, you can't do that on Zoom meetings when you were told, by the protocols, you have to stay away from the players. So it has been tough, and it's taken a while. And, there has been some attrition because of this situation, but he feels like it took a while, but eventually that trust that you look for and that culture has come to pass. But it was later than you would have hoped for. You would have hoped that would have happened in the spring, but there was no way that would happen.
Also, the good news for Walt, of course, he's no stranger to EKU. He served as an assistant under Roy Kidd. He's been there. He knows the culture. He knows what is expected, what EKU football should be. So maybe it was just more of him selling what EKU football should be to a new group of kids than anything.
Right. He was there under Roy Kidd, as you said, for 6 years, and under Dean Hood, who's now the head coach at Murray, had been at Kentucky the last few years for 1 year, and he's been at Western Kentucky for 10 years, South Florida for a year, New Mexico State, and then the last 4 years, 2 at Kentucky and 2 at Tennessee. So he's kind of gone from Power 5 to Sun Belt, CUSA, OVC, and so he's ready for the job. It's the 15th head coach in EKU history, but he is one that knows the tradition of Eastern Kentucky. I go back and I look at tradition. EKU had tremendous tradition in the end of the 1979 championship and through the 80s and into the mid 90s. And then Marshall had that unbelievable run, 9 playoffs for 10 years, where the two played a couple of great playoff games in Huntington. So both schools have had that tradition. The unfortunate thing for Eastern Kentucky is they haven't won a playoff game since 1994. And when it came to a halt, they've gotten to the playoffs, but they just haven't been able to win a game. So there's still that rebuilding that has to be done to try to get back to where they were, what's unfortunately been 25 years ago now.
It's hard to imagine. Here's something else that made me feel old, and I'm 49. Marshall offers Chad Pennington's son an offer. So Chad Pennington's kid could be at Marshall as a quarterback. I felt old instantly when I saw that.
Yeah, I go back and I look at some of these records, and I remember the 91 game and the 92 game, and I'm thinking, that wasn't that long ago. And then I start adding up the years, and it frightens me. I'm about ready to crack the Medicare era. So, I would love to be able to see Eastern Kentucky get back to a playoff and win a game before I hang it up, because I was a young kid. I mean, I graduated from Western Kentucky, got the job less than a year out of college at Eastern, and the first 4 years I did EKU games. They went to the national championship game and won twice. So I was too young to really understand and enjoy what I was able to have in those 4 years.
This game I'm excited for this game. EKU Marshall means something to me. Now, for a younger generation, you may have to educate them a little bit, but for a while, as we talked about, this game meant something. There was always something on the line, and I know EKU is not moving up anytime soon to play FBS football, but it would be nice to see this game more often, because it really made sense for these two teams when they were together, same division, playing each other. It was always a great rivalry. I always got up for EKU. I was always excited.
Yeah, if you still talk to a Western Kentucky fan, they still see that blood boil on an EKU game, even though the way the athletic administration treats it is different, because college athletics and the landscape is different. Eastern Kentucky made a bid, and they weren't quite ready, but they made an effort to get to FBS and join the Sun Belt, and it was down to EKU and Coastal Carolina, and the Sun Belt took Coastal Carolina. I think that set them back a little bit, and it'll be a while before anything happens. Steve Cotton and I have talked when the two teams played basketball, and I guess for us old school people, I miss the fact that you certainly wish, and I understand why it can't happen, but from a fan standpoint and a regional, economic, and geographical standpoint, I would love to see Middle Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky, Marshall, and Western Kentucky be together. Throw in an Appalachian state in there. Get back to some regional sensibility. But it's tough when every school is trying to climb the ladder. And a school that has climbed a rung or two higher isn't going to want to help one down below make that move up, if that makes sense. But yes, when you go back and look at the history of this rivalry, I mean, some great games. And I had tweeted out earlier this week, the one thing I remember when Eastern Kentucky won the last game ever played at the old stadium in Huntington. And then just the total despair of losing that game 14-7 in 1991. So there have been some highs and lows for both teams in this series.
And I was at both of them. I was at that final game at Fairfield. Wow, that was a low point for Herd fans. Not because of the loss, it's just the fact it was EKU that handed Marshall that loss. And
yeah, that was a low-scoring game. I think it was 15-12, if my memory serves me right.
And I remember Jim Donnan saying that they'd never have a season like that again. And, things took off. But, yeah, those games are legendary for Herd fans. And now we've got this one coming up on Saturday. And joining us on the program, Greg Stotelmyer. You're ready. I saw on Twitter the other day, I retweeted the broadcaster arts and crafts of your spotting board. So yeah. You're all set, ready to go. And in true play-by-play fashion, just like Steve Cotton, you guys are handwriting all this stuff out even to this day. And so you know a little bit more about this EKU team than your average Herd fan does. And you probably know maybe just as much or a little bit more than Doc Holliday does, because nobody knows what kind of team we're going to see on the field. Is it going to be a run team, a pass team? Are there going to be all kinds of trick plays? We don't know with a first-year head coach.
I think because of the lack of personnel in certain places, you won't see the offense that Eastern Kentucky would like to play in the Wells era. They're going to be constricted somewhat to try to slow games down. So I think you may see more running plays than you would normally as the seasons move along. But it is, for Doc Holliday and for the staff at Marshall, tough to decide, because you can't go pop a tape in, the 4 years Mark Elder was there. It's a new defensive coordinator who used to be at EKU and was a player at Eastern Kentucky, and Jake Johnson. And then Andy Richmond, who was a GA at Eastern Kentucky way back in 2004, is back. He had been out at New Mexico State. So you can go look at other schools and see what some kind of themes or philosophies or structure they had in the offense and defense, but you really don't know what Eastern Kentucky is going to do. So that's a disadvantage. Eastern Kentucky can pop in the tape and they can look at Marshall a little bit more. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit of advantage prep-wise, but both teams haven't had any ability to look at anything from spring or glean anything as well. So I think sometimes those things are overrated. It's like we debate off weeks and who gets the advantage and that kind of thing. So, but maybe a slight advantage to Eastern Kentucky in the sense that they can prepare a little bit more from the past season. I lost you there.
You just don't go away from him because he makes that offense go.
Yeah, I lost you for just a little bit. Repeat that, the next question.
I was going to say what I said was no matter what happens with a new head coach, one thing I think is a certain is running back Alonzo Booth. He's getting the ball, and often because you just don't go away from a talent like that.
No, and he never got a start at Eastern Kentucky in his 23 games because he was behind Darryl McCleskey, who left Eastern Kentucky as the 17th highest runner in in Colonel football history. But Booth was the guy that could score the touchdowns. He's good short yardage back, 14 touchdowns last year. He's 6'1", 250, really good back. And they have a lot of young backs behind him, a sophomore and then 3 freshmen, but they feel pretty strong at running back. Their offensive line is nowhere near as experienced as Marshall's is, but they do have 3 starters back, and I think they've got some depth on the offensive line where they're really thin due to guys either leaving the program or graduating is at the slot and wide receiver position.
Joining us on the program from EKU, Greg Stotelmyer, and Marshall. EKU coming up on Saturday, as we mentioned, going to be the first game to be watched on a Saturday. I know we have a couple games on Thursday, but still game day Saturday, ESPN, and it's really going to be a big deal for everyone. Did you even think we'd get to this point? I know there's been a lot of back and forth, even a few weeks ago, that maybe nobody would play, but here we are, and it's going to be on national TV. So really, Marshall and EKU are going to be out of the gate, pretty much the primary game for everybody on college football Saturday.
Yeah, it's really it's great for Eastern Kentucky. I mean, they got that, and then next week at West Virginia, I think it's on FS1. So, they kind of landed in a good spot. I for maybe a month ago, I was doubtful, but I feel more confident now. But every week, you still don't know if something flares up and things change. I mean, just look at Marshall's situation with the East Carolina game. So we'll see. But, you take it 1 week at a time. You try to do the best you can and keep your fingers crossed that things move along. And we're close, so we're almost there, right?
Yeah, we're a few days away, so we're hoping everything is going well and that everyone at Marshall is quarantining continuously, and I'm sure the same for your kids and your staff. Are you in the protocol, or are you just right outside of that protocol? How's quarantine?
No, I'm out. I'm outside the protocol, but we have a lot of restrictions on what we can do and how the booths will be set up and those kinds of things. So, I'm good obeying mask wear myself, so ready to go.
Yeah, that's going to be the challenge. Everyone going to a college football game wearing a mask for several hours, not just running into the store. I think that's going to be the first challenge for everyone to. For you though, I mean, once you get into the booth though, you get to at least, or will you? Will you be wearing the mask while you do play by play? Are you at that level or?
No, I don't plan to. But to have as much separation as we can, and I know there are some things at the Eastern Kentucky press box, and we won't play a home game in Richmond until October, but there will be some kind of divide between myself and the color analyst, and then we're even moving further, and we don't have as big a booth, but moving the engineer further away and maybe out of the booth. So, there are some precautions being taken.
Yeah, and that's at home with games on the road, because you're going on the road, because some announcers are doing the game, have the luxury of doing the game from studios back wherever their home base is. You probably don't have that luxury, as well as I'm sure Steve Cotton doesn't necessarily have that luxury as well, to sit back and do the game from the booth, even on the road.
Right. I think that sounds good on paper sometimes, and you see it done on the national level, but there's not that ability to pipe in the natural sound and all those things and have the monitors and the production to do it. That takes more than just saying, hey, don't send our announcers there. And I think so far they've made the right decision to allow announcers and play-by-play crews to travel. And we don't travel directly with the team. I did get a directive from our SID through, I would assume, the Marshall folks that we don't have access to the field. Because sometimes, an hour and a half before the game, we'll go down and talk to the coaches and just get a sense from field level before I go back up to the booth to do the game, and we won't be able to do that. But that's a minor inconvenience that we would be very willing to put up with and will.
Greg, we're excited to see you on Saturday, your first of 2 trips to the Mountain State this year, and hopefully everything goes well, because, again, if you have to open up, you have to change your schedule, I don't think you could come up with a better pairing, Marshall and EKU. It's just a great game to have.
Yeah, it's great. We played, 2 years ago in football, and and the rivalry's back, especially with AW as the head coach at EKU. He played at Marshall, and so the basketball series is continuing, and that's a great series, and it's just a no-brainer for these two schools to play as much as they can in all sports because of their proximity and the old rivalry. I think it's a great move and a great way to start the season.
Well, Greg, looking forward to seeing you on Saturday, and we'll all social distance when we get in Jones C. Edwards Stadium, and have a safe trip. We're looking forward to seeing you.
Okay, will do. All right, thanks for asking me, and we'll see you Saturday. Bye-bye.
That's Greg Stotelmyer. He's the voice of the EKU Colonels. We'll come back and we'll carry on with today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Our phone lines this hour, 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Hold true. Great taste, only 96 calories. It is the original light beer. Let's go to the phone. Haven't heard from Jeremy in a while. He's now on the drive. Go ahead, Jeremy. Where you been? We haven't heard from you in a while.
I've been around, Paul. I've been listening every day. I just wanted to call in and talk about how excited I was for this football season to get ready to start here. We are very lucky that we are Herd fans and that we're able to go to the game on Saturday. I just wanted to say that it's the first time I've actually had season tickets, I think, since I was a student at Marshall. And I felt like it was something I needed to do for the university. I think everybody in that stadium, we really need to pack that stadium. We really need to help them, sell out the rest of the social distance tickets. And do our part to do everything we can for the university by wearing our masks, social distancing, everything, and just be lucky that we are able to go to the game and be the Herd fans that we're able to be together this year on the 50th anniversary of the plane crash.
Yeah, I think it's important if Marshall is going to be able to allow fans to go to the game that everyone take advantage of it and do that's what's asked of them. I mean, I think it's real simple. You want to continue to go to Herd football games, do what the athletic department, do what the university asks of you to go, and if you can pull it off successfully the first game, then you can pull it off successfully the second game and the third game and the fourth game. And really, I think it's all upon us. If you want to be able to be in attendance, you got to do it right the first time to get a chance to do it again the second time.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that our athletic director, Mike Hamrick, has really been a shining example through all of this COVID stuff. I really thought the letter he put out to the fans today was great, getting everybody energized for the season and thanking everybody for everything that they've done. Do you know whether he's going to have the show tomorrow night with Inside Herd Athletics? Or?
No, we're not going to have that until further notice. Of course, a lot of it's logistics. We will have the Doc Holliday show coming up tomorrow, so that's going to happen. And that's going to be done a lot different than it's used to. If I understand correctly, don't hold me to this, but if I understand correctly, it's going to be done remotely. So you're going to have Steve Cotton and I believe Doc Holliday are going to social distance from each other and maybe do it on Zoom. They're going to not be in the same room. So, because, again, Doc's in protocol. Steve isn't, because Steve's not on the athletic staff like game day, coach, assistant coach, trainer. So I don't believe he's in the same protocol. I do believe he's getting tested, though, because I know I actually talked to Woody Woodrum today, and he's been tested because he's part of the press box staff on game day. So I don't know what the protocol is, but I do know they're going to be, I believe, apart from each other. So that might be part of the reason why, because they're in different protocols.
That's great. I think Steve really does such a good job with that Coach's Call-In show. I hope that they're going to maybe start taking calls since you're not able to go, just over to Fat Patty's and ask a question, or I guess you can still tweet into to Steve. But yeah, they just do such a great job with that. I'm glad that they're taking all the precautions and everything. And just real quick, I got to have to take a jab at you, Paul.
What'd I do wrong? What'd I do?
I could feel the guilt in your voice whenever the guy from EKU was talking about that they lost their FBS spot to Coastal Carolina. I could just feel how guilty you felt.
I mean, I do like Coastal Carolina. I mean, it's a known fact, and if it's not, let me reintroduce everyone to it. I like Coastal Carolina. I don't know why. I've never been there. I've never been to Coastal Carolina. I just like saying Coastal Carolina to the point of root for them now.
Well, it's right by the beach, so how can you not like it, right?
See, that might be it. See, that might be my retirement destination. You know, when I'm done with this, you know, I might have to just, I don't know, take a part-time job at Coastal Carolina just so I can enjoy the beach.
Yeah, just another quick thing. I was watching just a throwback wrestling pay-per-view this past week on the Halloween Havoc 1991, and I was so amazed whenever Jim Ross brought up the Thundering Herds 1991 season and how they had just lost to UT Chattanooga the night before that wrestling pay-per-view. So I thought it was hilarious that Jim Ross was throwing the Herd 1991 season underneath the bus.
I mean, come on, that was the big event back in the day. Halloween Havoc, that was a huge wrestling pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was. I just thought it was hilarious.
Okay, now I've had to do the quick research here. Who was on that card here? Okay, let's see. You had Sting.
The main thing was the Chamber of Horrors match. I think we're getting ready to talk about.
Okay, El Gigante, Sting, and the Steiner brothers defeated Abdullah the Butcher, the Diamond Stud, Cactus Jack, and Big Van Vader.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it ended with Abdullah the Butcher getting electrocuted, and they had an electric chair set up in the middle of kind of like a Hell in a Cell, and Mick Foley pulling the cord to get him electrocuted.
And the Enforcers were wrestling that year.
Yeah,
Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko, the Enforcers were on that card.
Yeah, so I think the next thing we need to do, you need to get the hookup with Kahn so that they can stream in the Power Park Saturday night, the AEW pay-per-view. If they're going to start showing big events, why not get some wrestling pay-per-views going down there?
Okay, so you want to see a wrestling pay-per-view at Appalachian Power Park?
Why not, right?
Okay. All right, we'll make it happen.
Like fun?
I'm going to make it happen.
All right, Paul. Hey, thank you so much for the show, man. I really enjoy it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for checking in. David Kahn needs to make this happen. You know what? I can do this. It's my show. I can do this right now. Let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens here.
Hello?
Hi, David. This is Paul Swann. This is the Flash episode of Swann and Kahn on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Your name was brought up on the program just moments ago, not by me, so you have to respond.
Okay, what's up?
We had a caller, Jeremy, a longtime listener, great fan of the show. He brought up the fact that he was watching Halloween Havoc 1991 because, I guess he needed some entertainment, and he told me Jim Ross mentioned the Thundering Herd in that pay-per-view, but he thinks that Appalachian Power Park should host the next wrestling pay-per-view, AEW wrestling pay-per-view. Can you make that happen?
I can certainly work on it. I can tell you that we are working on hosting possibly some live wrestling actually coming up. Can't say any more than that because it's still very much in the works. But we are working on potential.
Okay, so
in the near future.
Breaking news: the World Wrestling Entertainment will present a card at Appalachian Power Park. World Wrestling Entertainment at Appalachian Power Park.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. That's what you said.
The Rock and Mick Foley will reunite for a one-night-only tag match.
No, Paul, this is the great part. You and I are actually the ones wrestling.
With each other or against each other?
Against each other, obviously.
Okay. No holds barred?
What's your wrestling name? Yeah, what's your wrestling name?
I'll come up with one. Give me some time.
Mine's easy. Mine's easy. It's the Con Artist.
The Con Artist. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. Okay, the Con Artist. All right. Well, No holds barred. Pin counts. Pins. Pinfall anywhere, right?
Yep.
No rules, right? Hardcore rules.
Yeah, you can use whatever you want. Chairs, tables, any of that stuff. Yeah, it's all legal.
Okay. The Appalachian Power Park 24/7 Championship on the line.
We can stream it. Yeah, sure, whatever you want.
No. I mean the championship, the Appalachian Power Park Championship on the line. It's the hardcore championship.
Oh. Well, no, I think this is the Swann and Kahn Championship because it's between you and me. Everything else can be under the Appalachian Power Park umbrella, but ours is a special. It's not the main event. It's like a side card, I think is what they call it.
It's a grudge match. Is it a loser leave town match?
Yeah. Well, I was going to call it a cage match.
Okay.
We're gonna be in a cage.
Okay. Why are we fighting against each other? Why aren't we tagging up against someone?
I mean, we could, but who would we tag up again?
Who do you Who do you not like? Who don't you like?
I don't want to say that on the radio.
All right, text me the name. I'll book the match.
Okay. We're picking someone that I don't like and you don't like, and then for some reason they have to magically team up with each other.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. All right, that's great because I have people in mind, but they're gonna be like, why am I teaming up with some random person that goes to WVU, and they're gonna be very confused.
You know what we're gonna do? You know what? It's gonna be a handicap match, 2-on-1.
Oh, we're handicapping them now.
Handicap match, yes. I mean, come on.
Okay.
Look, the Swann and Kahn international titles are on the line, and we make the rules. We're like the Freebirds, Fabulous Freebirds. We have Freebird rules. I mean, there could be like 4 or 5 of us. We have Freebird rules. Any member of the family can wrestle for the titles.
Yeah, but unlike really long songs, this fight will not last as long as it takes to play through the fire and the flames.
Fair enough. You work on our entrance song, by the way. I'm gonna put you in charge of that.
Done. Already have it.
Okay, good deal. We'll work on that. Hey, thanks for this.
It's Enter Sandman, but it'll be Enter Swann and Kahn.
Yeah, this is the way to end this show. This is definitely this is the cherry on top. I mean, I have a serious interview with Greg Stotelmyer, the voice of EKU. I have Jeremy Call.
Yep.
Talk a little herd and wrestling, and you're the cherry on top of this.
Love it. Go Herd on Saturday.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, people.
David Kahn, thankfully not answering his phone and getting me in trouble on the live airwaves with a flash episode of Swann and Kahn here on The Drive. Okay, we can make this happen. We can make this pay-per-view thing happen if you like over at Appalachian Power Park. Wouldn't that be cool, though? Wouldn't that be cool? You go out to the ballpark and you can get in the ballpark. You can watch the pay-per-view for a price. You can social distance. They'll have concessions there. That'd be pretty cool. I'd like to see that happen. I've seen We Are Marshall over at Jones C. Edwards Stadium on the big screen. I've seen that. It was pretty cool, actually. I thought, how's this gonna? Oh, okay. No, I can see this. This would be pretty good, actually, to have. This would be pretty good. All right, we're gonna call it a day here on the show. We're going to get back in order tomorrow. We're going to get our house in order tomorrow. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, the Doc Holliday Show. We'll look forward to that, the COVID-19 edition. I mean, we've already had the Doc Holliday Zoom press conference. Now we've got the Doc Holliday COVID-19 edition of his show. I'm looking forward to hearing that. That means we're one step closer to game day, one step closer to getting to normal. Thanks to the voice of EKU, Greg Stotelmyer, joining us on the program. Also, for the voice of the Appalachian Power Park, West Virginia Power, David Kahn. All right, that's going to do it for this edition here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.